Can we talk about why Linux wireless drivers?
Why Linux wireless drivers are what? Bad. I don't know why they're bad, but I agree they are. Okay, schedule. Midterm, we did that. This is assignment 4. This is today. Yeah, that's putting a bit of pressure on you. Let's talk about the assignment today. There's the thing. This assignment isn't as bad as you think. I say, yeah. That's what I thought about the last one. Let's talk about it. I'm pretty sure we're probably going to have to move it back because that's not enough time. If I move it to then assignment 5 probably has to get bumped back. Ew, over spring break. 6 gets down, 7 pushed near the end. We're running out of wiggle room if we do that.
Maybe the assignment after next could just be due on the same day as the test.
That's a possibility.
That would be
I think isn't it nicer if I don't make you do something during spring break?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather do before spring break rather than after?
Yeah.
So how about we push 5 back to the same day as the midterm? Is that
Perfect.
Yeah.
Is that going to ruin your ability to study?
No.
People like that.
Depends on
I'm
the
okay with
assignment.
that. I think assignment 4 will come down here, assignment 5 will go over there. Let's talk about assignment 4 and see if you still feel that way at the end of today, and then there's our tentative plan. Okay, before we talk about assignment 4, one announcement. So we need to recruit a note taker for the class. I mentioned this early on, and apparently nobody signed up. So if anybody wants $50, hey, it's $50 for something you're probably doing anyway, which is showing up and scribbling down what's going on. It would be really great if you would contact the CEA.
Can't they just watch your
Yeah,
videos?
can you just watch
I
it?
do have the videos.
Yeah.
Yes. However, something just happened. My server died, and all my videos were lost.
No.
Sorry. Except I have several of them still on this laptop, and I'm going to be able to restore those. So I've got the last couple weeks worth, but I lost a lot of my videos. Sorry about that. I didn't back them up because, well, they're crappy videos.
Not when you're studying.
Unless you're studying, yeah. Well, I don't know what to say. I apologize. I will try not to crash my computer again, but I did. So if anybody wants to be the note taker, please do so, because that would be really great. And you can get money or alternatively some type of credit. I can't remember what type of credit. Service hours or something like that. Yeah.
It seems like there's one for every class. There's always like one person who needs that.
Yeah, there always is. So I'm sure you've all heard this spiel before, but usually somebody signs up, and this time nobody did. So if you're waffling on should I or should I not, just do it. I thought waffling was a phrase. Maybe it's not.
It's the
Okay.
same thing as pancaking, flip-flopping.
Pancaking, flip-flopping. Okay. Let's talk about this assignment. So first of all, let's just talk about genetic algorithms in general, how they work. A genetic algorithm except for the E's. Okay. Here is some genome for some really simple creature that only has about 30 amino acids in its genome. Whoever's watching the video will now count them and see how bad my estimation skills are on the fly. But how likely is it that this DNA is the optimal DNA for some really awesome creature that does something really cool?
Very low.
Pretty darn low, because I just made it up by writing Gattaca a bunch of times. Because Gattaca is a movie about DNA editing or something like that. Well, now suppose I take this genome and I mutate it by changing this A to a T. Did I make it better or worse? Definitely one of those two, right? Either this creature is going to be more retarded and die, or less retarded and probably live longer. With apologies for the terminology. Yes. I'm going to get myself in so much trouble. Please don't post this on YouTube and get me fired. I would rather not be fired.
Yeah, really.
It is actually a technical expression. It wasn't meant to be rude. It became rude because people were vulgar with the term. Retarded just means slow. And an extra T where an A belongs could slow you down. So it's technically correct. I'm not meaning no malintent to anyone with a genetic mutation, which is not your fault anyway. So because we don't know whether we made it better or worse, what do? Well, imagine we had a population of thousands of these things, right? Now they start having offspring. What's going to happen? And we've got the TTTs and the TTAs all mixed in the population. Over time, eventually, if this one is stronger than this one, what's going to happen? It's going to dominate, right? Presumably. I mean, maybe not. Maybe they're both fine mutations. Maybe this is blonde hair and this is black hair. Which one's better? Nobody dares, right? I don't even. Because there is one that's better, and guess what? There is black hair and blonde hair all mixed in with society because none of them is better than the other. And so diversity happens, and if one of them really is, because this is, do you have arms, and this one is, you have no arms, then, well, the armed people are going to be much better in a fist fight at the no-armed people. And assuming that we live in some barbaric society where we pummel people with no arms, my instant example generator is a little off today, I apologize. But you can see that eventually the no-armed people are going to diminish and the armful people are going to progress, and eventually, let's kill off the no-armed people. Because they just got beaten up by the armed people. Then the people with arms have babies, and guess what? Everybody has arms, and now society has DNA that tells you to have arms. You all get it. I know you do. You probably got it in middle school biology class, but the reason we need to talk about this is we're reviewing it to actually code it up. How would you code this up? Well, you'd come down here and you'd look at my pseudocode. I updated this assignment on Monday, I think it was, pretty recently. If you were looking at it before and you're panicking because it changed, I apologize. God, stop it. I didn't make any major changes. I just tried to add more helpful instructions. Okay? I don't like making big changes just before everybody's done it. So you can trust I won't do that. But hopefully this is better information. Here's my pseudocode. Initialize a population of virtual chromosomes. Do for a long time. Really specific, isn't it? Promote diversity within the population. Select the most fit chromosomes to survive. Or kill off the least fit ones. Same thing. And replenish the population. Isn't that pretty much the most vague pseudocode you've ever seen in your life? Well, what's cool about genetic algorithms is that's about as specific as they get. That's not entirely true. I can get a little more specific, but if I do, I'm getting too over-specific. If I say anything more than this, I'm telling you one way to implement it, not how genetic algorithms work. Essentially, if you code up anything that does that, the weird thing is it'll probably work. So one nice thing about this assignment is, in fact, if you have a bug in this implementation, your bug might even make it better. That's definitely not the case with uniform cost search, right? I mean, anybody have a bug that helped them out? Just didn't happen. Well, in this case, the weird thing is the algorithm doesn't have to be very specific for it to work. Let's talk about each piece and see why it's needed. So, initialize a population. First of all, this thing doesn't work if you have only one member of society. It really does take a lot of them, and if you don't have a lot, the whole algorithm just falls apart. Why do you think that is?
Diversity.
Yeah, imagine you're the one guy, and you get a mutation. What's probably going to happen?
Die.
It's gonna give you cancer. You're gonna die. That's no good. Whereas if there's say 8 billion of the members of the population, and maybe 10% of them get cancer, who cares, right? I don't really mean that. Cancer's a horrible disease. I hope it gets cured. But arguably, the mutations that occur are very slowly also doing good, even if they mostly do bad. As horrible as that sounds, as long as you have a big enough population, you can handle a little bit of negativity, and it takes a lot of negativity before you find some positivity when it comes to mutations, usually. Okay, so here, do for a long time. How long did it take Earth to evolve? 13.8 billion years? No, that was the Big Bang. 4.6 billion, 4.8 billion years, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
They think that it's about 3.5 billion years since life first formed. I recently saw an article that claimed that they discovered that the sea sponge was the first, the origin of the ancestors of the animal kingdom, apparently. And so apparently we all come from the sea sponge, I guess. And I don't know, that's all great and interesting. But it takes a long time. One problem with genetic algorithms is they're not fast. The reason they're not fast is you got to simulate a lot of stuff. You're essentially making a virtual planet Earth and doing planet Earth until something comes out of it. Why is it necessary to promote diversity within the population?
So you get the most challenge out of the greater issue.
Yeah, imagine that instead of, well, imagine if we were all the same. Every last one of us were the very same. And then we get to the next step, and the most fit of us are going to live, and the least fit of us are going to die. Well, who's going to die? Either all of us or none of us, in which case you can't really do that. So we need diversity so that we can even do selection. Okay? So the idea of selection here is you're in the African savanna, the trees are really tall, the giraffes that have really long necks can reach the leaves, they eat the leaves, the giraffes with really short necks die. Pretty soon there's no giraffes with really short necks, right? Or some tigers have really long claws, some tigers have no claws. Which tigers starve to death? The ones with no claws. Pretty soon all tigers have claws. So what this does, this is kind of the making progress step. When you kill off the less fit or let the more fit survive, the population as a whole leans towards better. And finally, after you kill some of them off, you better make more, right? Okay. Well, that's the gist of it. If you code up something that has a loop, it's easy to code up do for a long time, right? Let's just while true, or while I is less than 100 billion, something like that. You just do for a long time. Let's talk about how to code up each of these three things, and essentially, that's it. Okay. Give me examples in biology. How does biology promote diversity? And by biology, I mean, how on planet Earth do we make sure that we're not all the same being?
You take some of the chromosomes from parent one, some of the chromosomes from parent two, and stick them together for the child.
Yeah, so we do sexual reproduction. And that's, yes, we're going to talk about sex today in artificial intelligence class. There's kind of replenish the population and promote diversity. They're kind of the same thing. And sometimes it's not even clear which one you're doing. But as long as there's components of both of them, it'll work out. Imagine if you always just took the most fit members of the population and cloned them. What would happen on planet Earth if we did that? I imagine it would be terribly corrupt, don't you? Don't you figure that some rich guy like Donald Trump would just make a whole bunch of himself? Now think about that. Whoever's in charge would clone himself and then he'd stay in charge forever. How would we ever get rid of him? I just imagine society going downhill because we don't have enough diversity. I can see that being bad. By the way, if he's your favorite candidate, I didn't mean to pick on him as a candidate. I have nothing against him. He's just easy to pick on because he's so robust. You know what I mean? So kind of in your face. I actually don't affiliate with either party, just throwing that out there. The main thing I'm getting at here with promote diversity is mutations. Now, mutations don't really happen all that often, right? Would planet Earth evolve faster if they did? I don't know, maybe, or maybe we'd die faster. So one of the interesting things with genetic algorithms is there's a lot of parameters, and you get to fiddle with the parameters to see what makes it work and what makes it not work. One of them is going to be your mutation rate. So there's something that promotes diversity. How do you select the most fit chromosomes to survive on planet Earth? Well, there's scarce resources, right? There's a limited amount of food. If you don't build a house, you're probably going to freeze to death. And there's tigers that want to eat you, except not anymore because we killed them all off because humans are the best. Go humans. Okay, and how do we replenish the population? Well, sex. Okay. Now let's talk about implementing this. Okay, for promoting diversity, please implement mutation. For selecting the most fit chromosome, you can use this. For replenishing, please implement crossover. Okay, so please implement mutation. Actually, before we even do that, let's figure out how to initialize a population. The matrix class provided in the zip file would be a good data structure for representing a population of chromosomes. So let me look at this zip file here. Matrix. I made a class called Matrix for you. The main reason I did this is because it's just darn useful for a lot of stuff. And I think a lot of you will want to use it. It's okay with me if you want to use any other data structure. I don't care what data structure you use, but a matrix is a pretty decent one for this purpose. So a matrix is basically a two-dimensional grid of numbers. You better know that, right? Okay, thank you. Imagine you have a whole bunch of numbers. They're arranged in cells, kind of like this. It's a table, a bunch of numbers. If I were to say that this row represents a member of the population, you can see I would have GATA, CA, Gattaca in there. This is one chromosome, right? So if I have an M by N matrix, I'm essentially saying that I have a population of size M, and each member of the population has N amino acids in its chromosome representation. A matrix is just a nice, clean way of doing that. Now, in the real world, the population is going to change, but eventually it reaches some kind of homeostasis, right? So planet Earth is probably getting near the population limit where people are going to start having less babies because it's getting a little too crowded. At least some people have argued that. Some people think it can go a lot bigger, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to reach, say, 100 billion before it just gets too crowded. Don't you think so? In a lot of countries where it is really crowded, people have started voluntarily not having children. So I'm guessing maybe around 20 billion, who knows where the limit is. Earth is going to just kind of max out and stay there, at least talking only about humans. There's other creatures, of course. And there's a whole heck of a lot more than 20 billion ants on planet Earth. in your implementation, suppose you wanted to just use a fixed population size. That would mean you could just allocate a matrix and never have to allocate anything again. That sounds nice and easy, right? Is there any reason you need to have your population grow and shrink? In this assignment, I'm going to say no. If you want to, you can. But if you just want to allocate a static matrix size, that's good enough. Essentially what I'm saying is, every time some member of the population dies, somebody else gets to have a baby. And it just kind of happens that way. Babies are queued up in heaven until somebody dies, and then one comes down, and the population's always the same size, and everything moves forward at a nice gradual rate. Okay. So let's look at this matrix class. It has a file name. I don't know why it remembers that. There's a lot of stuff in this class you don't actually need because I use it for a different class that I teach. Like loading ARF. ARF is a common file format for lots of machine learning data sets. So that's there, you won't need it. Essentially what you will use is you will make a new matrix and pass in the number of rows. So this is your population size, the number of columns. This will be your the number of amino acids in the chromosome representation of your members of the population. There's a get method. If I can find it. Oh, there's rows and calls, returns the number of rows and columns in your matrix. There's a column min, column max. Set all. Somewhere there's a get method. I just can't find it right now.